Hi everyone, and welcome to the Three Off the G podcast. It's a podcast I'm really looking forward to, in particular because we've been trying to make this happen for a good while now. I don't hide the fact that I'm a big fan of today's guest and how he continues to inspire the world of golf. Before that, we'll have a quick chat with Harry. Harry, your time in Spain, my good man, is coming to an end before you head off to Florida on Friday, is it? So
Friday morning.
How are you fixed? Are you well rested from your 3 weeks in Spain?
I'm well rested, Ian, and looking forward to getting back out there. Looking forward to starting with my new lady. It's a great line. My mother is telling her friends, obviously, what I've been kind of my change in career recently, and then over Christmas, she was telling them, well, Harry has a new woman, and then she has to qualify that by saying, well, look, he's carrying
Yeah.
a new girl. But yeah, looking forward to getting started with Marina Alex next week. So I fly on Friday and meet Marina for the first time over the weekend. She's going to do a bit of practice and play the course on Sunday. But yeah, next week in Boca in Florida is the first tournament. So I'm looking forward to getting back out there and earning some money rather than spending it as I have over the last.
Don't I know?
I don't like to put my hands in my pocket too often,
No. I know that very well. I've witnessed it on many occasions. Right. Okay. We'll get to it. Okay. So this week's guest was born with a rare bone disorder, but his ability to face the disorder without stress, I suppose, illustrates the mettle of this guy, and is now a worldwide sensation, both as a professional golfer and a promoter of golf for people with disabilities. His list of achievements are many, but I suppose reaching the dizzy heights of becoming the world #1 must be high up on that list. Brendan Lawlor, you're very welcome to the pod, and thanks very, very much, I suppose, for giving Harry and I some of your time today.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm delighted to share the story and tell a few funny stories, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll start with that. And I don't know more funny stories, but I look at the last 3 weeks, or maybe 2 weeks, I suppose, and that have really stood out. There's three kind of things that really stood out for me in the life of Brendan Lawlor. And all of them seem to be kind of wow moments. One, playing in Kapalua there in Hawaii at the ISPS Handa All Abilities Championship at the same time as the Century Tournament of Championships was on. Yesterday, meeting our own An Taoiseach, our Prime Minister, Micheál Martin. And then this morning, taking delivery of a brand new TaylorMade Stealth driver, which you were teasing out there on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I'm very envious of that. So to start with, I suppose, most recently, how did your meeting yesterday go with An Taoiseach Micheál Martin? And is there anything that you can tell us about?
It was strange. It happened literally. I got a phone call not even last week, like 3-4 days ago. And Mark said, my manager, there's an opportunity to meet Micheál Martin. Do you want to take it? I said, that opportunity doesn't come every day, so it'd be silly not to. So my sponsors, Connecticut, have sort of direct links. And he said, Barry from Connecticut said the opportunity came up. So he just mentioned my name, and Micheál sort of knew everything that was going on and was pretty happy to meet me and just get more of an indication of what's going on in the disability side of golf in Ireland, or even the disability sport in Ireland. So we met up 12 o'clock yesterday, and he came in and introduced himself. I introduced myself. We were chatting for about 15 minutes outside the building, and he said, sure, come on up to the office there and we can have another chat. So we went up to the office and we went into his big, massive office, big open room. And first thing I looked up on the wall, there was a portrait of Michael Collins.
Oh, nice.
And on the other wall, there was a portrait of Eamon De Valera. And these two guys were never pictured on the same wall before. So I was like, it's strange to see them on the same wall. And then Micheál was like, since I took over sort of this office, that's his sign of peace. It's the sign of having the two guys on the wall, forgetting about the times and moving on. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Brilliant.
Very
Absolutely.
much.
Yeah. So we just chatted like about disability golf in general, like what sort of the GUI was doing for us, what just trailing the path for others to sort of get opportunities and all that sort of stuff. So it was a very positive chat. Like, what I got from it is if we're trying to do anything with Paralympics or trying to get in touch with sports councils, it's going to be much easier now than going emailing 50, 60 more people. I think we can go to the direct man and get information pretty quick. So it's good.
Yeah, like I was speaking to Tony Bennett, I think it was actually nearly a year and a half ago with everything because of COVID and that. But again, I was just having a quick chat about, the Paralympics. I mean, surely to God, it should be well up on the agenda of being included, And he was saying, yeah, you would think so, but it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing to try and get across the line to get something like that done. He said, like, there's no chance in a couple of years' time, but maybe, I think it was a 2028, he said, might be an opportunity. And you think that's, 2028, but it's only 6 years away, but it's 6 years of then working to see how it will probably get done. Is that your hope? Is that I suppose anyone, but it's my hope, I know it, because given my situation as well, these are things that you look at and you go, oh, God, I could maybe do that, or that's something I would love to be involved in.
100%. And to be honest, I think it's ridiculous it's not in it already. With all, like, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, like with the European Tour, with the European Disabled Golf Association. We have organisations behind us now backing it. So I think this is going to be a massive case.
Yeah.
We done a showcase the first time in Aberdeen on the European Tour, and the decision was made 2 months previous that it's not getting into the Paralympics. So I reckon if we had this back in maybe 5-6 months previous, it could have been a whole different story.
Yeah.
See, I think the organisers feel that they have to categorise people on disabilities when it's not really the case.
Yeah.
They can just give out 3 medals for the 3 best players. Like, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we're trying, not even 3 medals. You can have your staple front category, neck category, and wheelchair category. You don't have to have arm category, leg category.
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to say to us. That's what you need. But what we're doing on the European Tour now, we're trying to prove to these guys that there's a market there at every sort of level, that it can be very competitive.
Would it be right in saying, I suppose, something I've come across, I suppose, in the last 5 years, the word inclusivity, I suppose, and everything the definition of that word encompasses is really kind of the number one priority. I think achieve that and everything is easier. Like, I mean, you've obviously, there's been lots of articles and everything written about you, and you turning professional, but you're talking to other professionals. You're talking about the game. You're not talking about the fact that there's a disability there.
100%. The inclusivity side, I really started to see it in the European Tour especially. We get there, we're playing off the same tees, we're playing on the range, we're mixing with Rory McIlroy. And as you said there, we're not talking about, oh, I've woke up this morning a wee bit sore. We're talking about the course condition. Talking about how long 6 is or how difficult 9 is. And we're talking about the actual course setup, professional to professional. And this is what we're trying to sort of represent to the European Tour and to other organisations, that there's a market for all this stuff.
Yeah, which there is. It's brilliant. And to see what has gone on and the support, like myself and Ian have had occasion to kind of meet with Keith Pelley a little bit over the last couple of years, and what a great guy to kind of, be on your side, be on the side of really trying to drive change there. It's quite obvious that he's a massive help and a huge driving force behind it, I suppose. Brendan, let me just bring you back a little bit through a few years, and we'll come to all of these moments that have happened over the last number of years. But maybe for some listeners that maybe haven't heard you on our podcast up to this point, or maybe heard a whole lot about your life story, give them a sense of you growing up with this disability, if we'll call it that, because it's not a disability. But tell them what it was like, I suppose, growing up and going to school, or maybe even getting involved in playing sports, and how was it that golf became a thing that you really had a passion for?
Yeah, so I was into many different sports as a young kid. Literally, I was confident. I was yes, I was smaller in stature, but I didn't start to really realise that till I was going into secondary school or maybe 5th class. Everyone was sort of outgrowing me then. So I played like many sports. I have a big GAA family that love Gaelic. So they were playing at a high level, at club level. Then I got introduced, say, 6, 7, was training with sort of underage teams right up to 15. So that was a massive passion of mine, was playing Gaelic and then soccer. And then obviously everyone outgrew me and it was becoming too dangerous. I was getting busted on the field, and mum and dad were saying, you need to find a sport that suits you, or else you're not going to be here for too long because you're getting wrecked every time you go out. But I found pitch and putt when I was about 12 years old. And I reached pretty high heights in that. I was on sort of loud panels quite young. I won an All-Ireland, a senior All-Ireland when I was only 15. So I reached quite high level in pitch and putt. And then it wasn't necessarily cool to play that when you're 15. Everyone was playing golf, hitting it far, starting to play the game. So I said, well, if they're doing it, I can do it. I had this attitude and I did. Doesn't matter if I was tall, small. If he can do it, I can do it. So I joined golf when I was 15. And the very first competition, I had 52 points off 28. Unheard of. Ridiculous stuff. And I got chopped. And I'd say they're like, who is this bandit coming in, wrecking the shop? But I joined RD Golf Club. They were very, very welcoming. Really, really nice golf club, and didn't treat me or see me any differently. And then I got on their junior panels. Then I was on their senior panels. It was just like a quick enough progression, like any normal amateur would. And disability golf came when I was about 20. I think I was 21, and it just opened so many doors for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you speak of a game that I started exactly at the same kind of age, pitch and putt. And in ways, I think it's a magnificent grounding or a kind of a learning playground in which to start a love of golf and to try and actually learn the short game, the chipping and the putting first, and maybe reach the heights that you did. It always really stands to you in the long run. I often found myself with having played that for so long, then the temptation is when you actually go and want to go and play the big game and learn the long shots, you suddenly don't practice the short ones as much as you once did,
Exactly, yeah.
But it's a great pathway, I suppose, and in a way over recent years we've seen here in Ireland, I think probably less and less pitch and putt clubs. A lot of them have closed now, which is a shame because it's such a great way for kids of 10, 12 to kind of get a bit of a feel and a passion for the game before they maybe go and play the big game. But on the other side of that, I suppose golf clubs have become a lot more, open and inclusive to allowing kids actually start at a much younger age compared to maybe the age that was allowed 20 years ago, shall we say. But again, talk to me about RD. So your progression, I suppose, to enjoying the game and putting effort in and practicing and playing on those club teams. Did you have the love for the kind of work ethic and practice kind of straight away? You were motivated, I suppose, to become the best player you could be.
Yeah, 100%. And it wasn't necessarily a chore to get better. It was going out with your friends and playing for a fiver maybe here and there, or going to the range and having chipping competitions. It was like you were practicing, but you were having fun at the same time. Now you're going out, like you're putting your hard work and hours in. You're working on things at the range now. When you were young, you were going out to just free roll it. You're going out to play. You're going out to enjoy it, and you still do that. But when you're younger, you don't really care about anything. You just go out and have fun. And I think that's where the most progression came. Going out with my friends, having fun. I think it was important finding guys that were on your level too. So there was 5 or 6 boys in RD that were off quite low figures. And it was competitive every time you went out. That's going to drag anyone on. And I think that was important. But they were very, very supportive too with what I was doing. And when things were starting to go well, I was approached by Carton House. And Carton House is a national academy for the Irish panel. So I went up and joined Carton House. But the guys in RD have always given me access to the course and anything I needed to do, whether practice or... They were very, very lovely up there and always have been.
You're getting older at this stage as well, so I'm wondering, where does school or career or anywhere like that, where does that come into it? And I suppose then we'll match that, I suppose, with the timing then of how did this all happen? How did the whole disability golf come on stream? I know there was the Modest Management Group by Niall Horan and Mark McDonald, and how did this all come apart then, or come to fruition?
Come apart. That's just how it's coming apart. All falling apart. No, school-wise, I went to the grammar school. I wasn't the sharpest tool in the box, to be honest. I was, I wouldn't say I wasn't committed, but I wasn't fully. I didn't like school. I had no interest. Mom and Dad always, they were focused on more happiness than books, which was beneficial to me. I wasn't getting straight A's, but if there was exams to be passed, I'd pass them, that sort of thing. I did enough to get by. So I went to the Darren Clark Golf School just after. I was at that age, a wee bit lost, didn't know what to do. And I had a passion for golf and went up there for 2 years. And it was good development as a teenager. You're moving away from home. You're going to college. You're the big bad world of all the boys, drinking a few cans here and there. It was like a life lesson. And just learning how to live away from home and look after yourself. They were the best 2 years of my life, I'd say. Really enjoyed it. The development was good. You love playing golf. When you come out of that, you were saying to yourself, right, you enjoyed yourself. Now it's time to cop on a wee bit and find a job. So I was working with my dad. I was working here. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. I said I was a good golfer, but I was never good enough to be on tour. So my auntie found disability golf on the web. She was searching up, and she said to Mum, would he ever consider playing disability golf? And Mum didn't want to put me in it, didn't want to categorize me as a disability person, because I never was. I lived a normal life. So she said to me one day, and I said, yeah, that could be a great road to go down, and played the first few events. Went to this event thinking it was going to be a breeze. I was off scratch in Ireland and played and shot a couple over, and I thought, right, I'm going to be on the lead here. And guy with one leg shot 2 under. Guy with cerebral palsy shot level par, and it was the biggest eye opener I ever had, and definitely a good one. So it was cool.
And then I suppose the progression then to the next kind of level, right? So I think Peter Finnan, I'm a mutual friend of ours in Irish Golf Magazine, I think approached you and kind of got you to sit down for a couple of hours and, just go through, maybe had you heard of Modest Golf? And maybe he thought that was probably a good line to go down. Yeah,
big time. I featured in the magazine a few times when I won, say, Aberdeen and all that sort of stuff. And Peter, we never actually sat down to tell him my full story, tell him how it happened, where it started, sort of the challenges you had to come through to get there. And Peter took inspiration from this. He couldn't get over the story. He couldn't get over how much was achieved in such little time. And he's seen Modest were a very progression management team. They were doing a lot on the ladies' side, a lot on the men's side, and thought maybe I'd be a perfect fit for the disability side. So he gave Mark McDonald a call that evening. And then Peter rang me back and said, you have a meeting with him the next day. So it literally happened in a blink of an eye. And I met up at Macca and told him my views or my values and what I was doing and where I think it could go. And we just liaised for 2-3 months, and then the guys put a deal on the table. So I signed a dotted line, and it's been fantastic ever since.
It certainly has. I mean, I suppose people get called inspirational, and I suppose the people that, since my own situation, I suppose that inspire me are the ones that are in the same maybe situation as yourself or myself, Brendan, but don't have support. And I think support is a huge thing in the fact that those people, they'll always have a battle to get a decent quality of life. And I think that you and I, because we've just have good support by families or whatever like that, I always feel that there's part of me, and maybe the same as yourself, that owes it to them to try and go on and be positive and to go on to achieve things. And I'd say that the sport initially from a real broad spectrum of people and services have enabled me to become more dependent, and then consequently there's nothing really I feel I can't do. I'd say it's the exact same situation as yourself, but it's support at the start, be it family, be it Mark McDonald, be it Niall Horan or Modest. That's a huge thing, because once you can get on the right path, then you can come into your own and bring your own I suppose qualities and professionalism to it.
Yeah, big time. And it's very hard to get anywhere without the support, as you said. And whether it's family or financial support, really, like, that's the biggest factor. If it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now, because he pumped thousands into this journey. It was, we were going to disability events under your own pocket, under your own time, and there was nothing enticing you to go. There was no prize money.
Yeah,
it was just such a wonderful thing to do. And to be honest, like, the very first event I went to, I could see the market where I could do well. Like, there was guys playing and they were there for just being happy to be there. But I'm weird. I'm not just happy with being I'm happy, but I'm not money driven. But I could see somewhere I could make money, or somewhere where I could help people. I don't want to just go somewhere and do it. I want to get something out of it to help others or myself. You know what I mean?
You want to win.
I want to win the tournament, but also I want there to be backlash from that to help other people. Because at the minute I'm trying to create the path. Like, I've been chatting to many Irish disability guys now, looking to get into the game. So we're you exactly. But for you to go to an event, it might set you down €1,000. It's not cheap. We're trying to come up with the GUI now. We've been chatting with the GUI to try and get a cap for disability players to maybe travel to 3 events a year to get their name on the circuit. So this is where we're trying to get in touch with big organizations to help others. I said to the guys already, I don't want any of this. I want the guys like you to get it. I want, say, Keen Arthur's, he's a one-arm golfer, him to get it. I want guys to get an opportunity to compete on the disability tour that might give them an opportunity to compete on the European tour one day. So that's
listening to that now as well, Brendan. People will hear about a disability tour and go, "You're kidding me! What? There's an actual tour?" But there is, and I mean myself as well. And I suppose this chat, which is more of an exercise as well for me to try and get an understanding of it, considering I'm a PGA professional, but yes, I'm obviously in a wheelchair and that as well. And I love the sport like yourself. So, but there is a disability tour.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a calendar that runs maybe 15 to 20 events a year. You have gross, net, Stapleford, and a wheelchair category. And the beautiful thing about this is you can grow your own game in your own category. You don't have to go for the gross. You don't have to go for the net. Whatever your category is, you can get to the top of it. And then that enables you to get to another category, which is fantastic. There's so many ways you can improve. And what I was saying before is it's not just on the competitive side, it's for the mental health side, is to make new friends. And that's the wonderful thing about it too. Like, I've made friends for life on the disability tour, that some of them have gone through the same challenges as you, and you nearly have more of a bond than you do with them than you have with your own friends at home, because they've been through some of the same experiences. So it's good in so many ways. It's not just the European tour stuff's great, the PGA tour stuff's great, but you're not going to make friends on the PGA tour. You're going to make friends in your disability tour in your own category. So that's what I love about it.
But just gathering up from the conversation we're having here, like, and maybe the word I'm going to use isn't probably appropriate, in the sense that it for the last maybe couple of years, it was nearly more of a hobby and interest. I'm talking about for certain people on disability tour, because there's a cost factor there, and unless you have the money, you're not going. There could be 100 tournaments on the year, but you're not going. I mean, recently I was just looking down through the last couple of days, And I saw like the French Open. I was going to order my wife fancy go to France in May. You know, so things like that are great. But there is a massive, and there is a cost factor involved as well. So, and I think it's marvelous what you're doing, trying to get more and more people on board.
Yeah, it's the cost that turns people off, to be honest with you. It's hard to expect someone to pay maybe €1,000 or €1,500 to go to an event and maybe get nothing from it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so many wonderful things about it, but if you're competitive, if you're money driven, or you're looking to win events, you want to get something out of that. And it doesn't have to be money, but experiences, invited back the following year. There just has to be some incentive for people to go now. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get the best players at events if there's nothing to play for.
Yeah.
Yes, it's great competing against each other, but it's not going to pay your bills at home either. You're trying to win events. It's costing you money to go. That has to change. And
like I only see recently the USGA and Mike Wan, a guy we spoke to in the past, and we're going to be speaking to in a couple of weeks' time as well. You know, the USGA have come out with from this year. I think it's the last week in July, or there's going to be a US Open for people with ability, and you're going, Jesus, it's on in Pinehurst number 6 or 7. I don't care where, but like these are things to try and get, and you're wondering. Again, it's expenses. And it's how to get there. And as you said, it's not about winning the money. It's just about getting more and more people involved and have a quality field. And I suppose just competing, but also promoting the game as well.
Big time. And like the wonderful thing about that one is it's USGA recognized. So they actually put the event on themselves. So the fact that they're recognizing that disability golf is a thing, that it's starting to get bigger around the world, is huge, because that's where, if you get America's backing on something like this, it's going to go to the moon. It's the heights that could go is massive. And we had Jay Monaghan was following us around last week at the Century, and he was seeing Juan Postigo hitting 300 yards off one leg, Chad Pfeiffer one leg, myself shoulder and stature. So he came out and actually watched and seen what we could do. And I think this really opened his eyes to maybe have something running alongside the PGA Tour, or giving us a wee bit more access to it. And all this is great. And it helps. It's like it's a roll-on effect. It helps everyone in the game.
Brendan, I spoke earlier about Keith Pelley, and it brings us nicely on. Tell us a little bit about your experience of kind of chatting and working alongside Keith, and the culmination, I suppose, of that in August of 2020 when you teed it up in the Belfry in that European Tour event. Because I'm intrigued, a lot of people will, I suppose, have become more aware of you through that moment, I suppose, and everything that has happened since then. But tell us about the chats with Keith and the build up to that first tournament.
Yeah, Keith's been fantastic from day one. He's given us a platform to showcase what we can do on the world stage. And it's not sugar-coated. He's not hiding us behind the field. He's putting us right in the limelight. And that's important to us, because if we want to highlight and show what we can do, people need to see it. We can't be put out at silly o'clock in the morning. We can't be put out after tea times. We need to be put out bang smack in the middle of the field to show the fans, to show people that are watching on the range why we're there, what we can do, the inspirational factor. And he's given us that opportunity. And that's bringing the likes of Adidas on board, the Condor, all these sponsors. It's helping more and more with other athletes as well. Even when we had that start at the Belfry, the following week, the Italian guy, Tommaso Perino, played the Italian Open, and he's a disability golfer. So even if we could get each best disability golfer in their home country to get a start in their own country's event, that's a massive difference too. Because people are going to be attracted to see what they can do, and then look into the EDGA Tour. It's helping in so many ways.
Absolutely, 100%. Tell me of the experiences that you've had up to this point of playing in iconic venues or tournaments or whatever. What stands out for you, I suppose, over the last year and a half since you've turned pro? You must have some amazing memories both on the golf course and with the people that you're meeting as well.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great memories. Best memory, we were at the President's Cup in 2019, and I got to hit golf balls over the water with Tiger. So that's a memory that will stick in my head for a long time.
I saw that. Yeah.
I nearly shanked it. I couldn't even see the ball. I was shaking that much.
But, that was in Melbourne, wasn't it?
That was in Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah.
So even like I say, we were hitting balls with Tiger. Like Xander Schauffele was there, Adam Scott, Ernie Els, Justin Thomas, like the biggest stars in the world were there. It was crazy. Cameron Smith just won, but yeah, it's just what I find about all these experiences too is you can't get too starstruck either. You just need to take it as it comes. You should nearly feel you're worthy to be there. Like on the European tour, I'm not a fan of taking pictures of Rory because I feel like I'm going to be there the following week. I want to make friendships with these guys instead of be a fan, if you know what I mean. And that's what we're trying to do as well.
Yeah, no, great point. Absolutely. Tell us, I suppose, now that we start into a new year and a new golf season, obviously Ian mentioned that you had a nice little trip there a couple of weeks ago, which is a great way to start off your new year, especially skipping out of the cold weather at home in Ireland. But talk to us, what's kind of coming up, I suppose, over the next couple of months, and what's a schedule looking like, or, you know, where are you going to be? Where can we see you? Where are we going to see you compete over the next 2 or 3 months even?
Yeah, so our calendar's pretty quiet till maybe March. So this would be my off season, trying out new gear, trying to get the clubs right, get my game in the best order as possible. The thing with us is we don't have a massive schedule. We have maybe 10 events in the year, and then maybe 5-6 promotional stuff where I go to pro-ams, just showing people what I can do. That's a part of my job as well. It's not competing all the time. It's public speaking. It's attending the pro-am in Wentworth and loads of people watching with a celebrity, seeing what you can do, then looking up the disability tour. And that's a lot what I do as well. And that's the great thing about Modest is to get you opportunities like that to compete in the best places in the world, like what the BMW, Irish Opens, like hopefully the JP McManus 22. I'm trying to get into that as well. So all this is changing and the world's changing. Like inclusivity is the buzzword at the minute, and I think everyone's adapting to it as well.
Yeah, 100%. You must have iconic venues on your radar even this year. I'm sure it might be a dream to get to a Masters in Augusta or get to a US Open. Anything in the pipeline for any of that stuff?
Well, I'm not saying hopefully. I'm trying to get an Irish Open start this year. I feel after the last few years of what was done, like representing disability golf, and I think not that I deserve, but I want a shot at trying to make a cut in an Irish Open. And there's something about playing an event in your home country as well. Hopefully the guys extend an invite out to me, but it's tough to let out some of the best golfers in the world too. So I understand all that, but that'd be a dream of mine. I played the Pro-Am last year, and I'd love to be a part of the main event this year. So we'll see what happens.
You say about, leaving out. You're obviously going to, for you to take a place, because it is going to be one of the bigger events on the European Tour this year. I think it's about 6 million prize fund. But again, it's not the leaving out the person, I suppose. It's the fact that having you in it, again, pushes things on. The reason for turning professional rather than amateur. Can you go through a little bit about that and the motivation for it?
Yeah, like amateur, I played at quite a high level in amateur. Like I played sort of north of Ireland, all that sort of stuff. It was great. I was never going to win anything. I was making cuts, yes, but nothing was on my radar to win. I had nothing holding me back to stay amateur.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to make a Walker Cup team. Nothing like that. I was in limbo. I was literally a 21-year-old guy looking to make money, trying to make a wage, trying to maybe find a job. All this stuff was going through my mind. And I didn't think this was the road. I didn't think this was the way I was going to do it. But the guys at Modest, when they approached me, Mark said, you have to turn pro because to be endorsed, they're not going to endorse amateurs.
Yeah.
they're going to endorse professionals, yes, but if you're an amateur, you're very limited to events. You can't go to certain events. You're not going to be seen as much. So he said turning pro is the best option for you. And he said, to be honest, for us to look for endorsements and advertising, it helps us too. So it worked. I turned professional.
Can you tell me about the role about ISPS handler, International Sports Promotion Site? Because not only from, I suppose, a position of supporting the European Tour events, they seem to, no matter what article I look up, they seem to be always at the forefront of promoting disability golf.
Yeah, so ISPS handler basically represent peril sport. So like wheelchair basketball, disability golf, sport in general. So Dr. Handa, he's called a philanthropist. So he makes his money whatever way he does it, through property, his businesses, but he invested it all back into what he believes in. He's a very generous man, worth a lot of money, but helps a lot of people in the world. So, as you said, they support so much. They support European Tour events, now they're supporting disability events, and hopefully they can sort of push us on to sort of new heights and maybe create a world tour and all that sort of stuff.
Goals for the season. Do you set out goals? Be it on or off the course?
Yeah.
You look at the fellow that just doesn't sit down much. It's constantly thinking, constantly trying to do new things.
I never sit, to be honest. Like I'm like a jack the box. Go. But no, me and my girlfriend built a house recently. So there was a lot sort of time and priority going into that. And I put a simulator into it. So there's a full-on TrackMan 4 simulator. You can play courses, like state-of-the-art luxury, because I have a lot of time in my hands as well. So I was thinking that could be a wee escape where I could bring people in, rent it out for an hour, give lessons in it. Because I do have time. I play a lot of golf. I play maybe 15, 16 to 20 events a year, but I still have that other time to fill up. And I don't like doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I seen a wee opportunity where I can maybe bring a few people in, give them tips. They can do gapping sessions. So that's going to be up and running hopefully in the next few weeks. Then I'll start advertising a wee bit. And it's just I have different stuff in the pipeline. That was a goal of mine too. I always wanted my own little simulator to invite people in and give it a go. And a lot of effort has gone into it. A lot of money has gone in. And it's looking really well. And that's what we want.
Ian, I think we can consider ourselves invited, and we'll just wait a couple of weeks until the paint is dry on the wall up there, and the tea and biscuits have been ordered in. But don't you worry,
more than welcome, boys.
We'll be up for a quick 9 holes on Pebble Beach, that's for sure. Obviously, Brendan, you're like us, big golf fan. Talk to us. You've met some of these players. Obviously, our homegrown talent are back out there now this week in Abu Dhabi. I see a great practice round yesterday morning of Rory, Shane, Pádraig Harrington and Ian Poulter. I'd say that with the 4 caddies, it would have been a good bit of banter going around on a practice round. But you've met these guys, you've hung out with them. I suppose, what inspiration can you glean from spending time with some of these guys, and maybe either little funny stories or tips or whatever? What have you learned from those guys being in their company, I suppose?
Yeah, like what I've learned most is they're just normal people going through the same struggles or the same life stories as anyone else. A touching story for me was I was chatting to Shane Lowry and his manager. And Shane, he is a newborn baby. And I think she was 12 weeks old. And he was only home 2 of them weeks. So that has to be tough for someone that's only had a child.
Yeah.
And like that story probably hit me the most because, yes, he's out here. He's doing really well. People think golf's a luxury dream job, but they don't forget about the families. They don't forget about what's going on inside people's heads or whatever it is. They're normal people at the end of the day. And I'd say that was a tough moment for Shane, not being with his wife for that much time and with a newborn child. But on the happier stories, I met Bryson last week for the first time. And he contacted me when I won in Dubai. He said, "Congrats, bro," and all that. And like, for one of the most probably popular golfers in the world to text you is crazy. So I was hitting balls at the range, and he come and tapped me on the shoulder. I was like, "All right, dude, how are you?" And like that sort of stuff. He could have just walked past and said nothing. So he's like, "What are you working on?" And he's like, "I'm actually trying to hit it a wee bit further." I think I'm talking to the right person. So he said, yeah, just you need to be more wider, try and get more weight on the right foot. Just little tips like that. Like you know a lot of this stuff, but hearing it from the man himself is pretty mental. But the guys in America that get the most hate is probably Koepka and Bryson. And they were two of the nicest people I spoke to when I was over there. So it's mental.
Yeah, I suppose they are. They're all just ordinary guys. Yes, they're very successful, and the riches that come with that. But they start out with a very similar passion and talent for the game that we all have had or whatever. And especially the Irish guys, I think obviously we like to think that they haven't lost a run of themselves or are very grounded. What do you think in the lead up to that? The Masters, the Rory chat and the Rory pressure will increase. Obviously, he's going to look to have a more.
Well, on Harry, the signal's just gone there a bit. Do you want to repeat that? We'll edit it out afterwards.
Yeah, I was going to say it's.
What was the last? What was the last thing that you heard? What was the last thing that you heard?
Rory, was it?
Yeah.
I'll delete up to the Masters, I think is what
I'll
you're
say
saying.
it. Yeah, I'll say it all again. Yeah. Brendan, you mentioned, as we said, hanging around with these guys, and let me focus for a minute on the likes of Rory. Obviously, the Rory chat and Rory focus will ramp up now as we head towards the first major. Obviously, only 80-something days away, but you've met him, you've been around him. Obviously, winning majors is where he's at and where he wants to be at. So, what's your thoughts on Rory for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think. I think when he's on, he's one of the best players in the world. First of all, his drive and his irons, when everything's clicking, he's outrageous. I think he needs a little bit more confidence. I think he's lacking a wee bit more confidence on the final day. People say, "Oh, he's not playing well," but he's still in so many top tens this year, and there's not many players that are having top tens. Like he's so consistent. Now he's not winning, but he's consistent. So I just think if his putt and clicks, he's not going to be far away. I think he's 80% there. There's not even. He's 95% there. There's 5% maybe in the putting that could be a wee bit better. But all in all, he's outrageous. And the standard of guys now, anyone can win. It's not just the top 10. It's anybody. They're all good.
Let's just focus for a second on the trip to Hawaii, because for me, it kind of came out of the blue. God, he's off to the Century Tournament of Champions. Can you talk us through a little bit about the invitation and then the travel? I mean, you're going to the other side of the world, and then it seemed to be that you're back pretty quickly as well. And I'm wondering what was the kind of the highlight. Obviously, I suppose meeting Bryson and meeting Brooks Koepka and all the rest of it, but just competing as well over there. I mean, never mind the golf part of it, but these are experiences that not an awful lot of people get to go on either or make these memories.
Yeah, big time. It's we got the word about I'd say it was the start of December. It was quite late. It was December. I actually knew 3 months before. Okay. I was told that the winner of Dubai is going to Hawaii. I was already going. So the guy said whoever wins Dubai is going to be the final person, because there was Chad Pfeiffer. They were going by the Century Tour champions. So they were going to pick 4 disability champions. So I got the call up when I won in Ireland. And then the guys rang me and said, whoever wins in Dubai is going to be the 4th person. But I won in fucking Dubai. So I couldn't go twice. So the guys thought they would bring Juan Postigo, probably one of the most inspirational guys on tour. He's only out of injury. He won the European Championships earlier on in the year and didn't really get a good enough start because he was riddled with injuries. So They brought him, and I'm not going to say it was tokeny, but we didn't get full access that we should have got, maybe. It was sort of a fact, if they're going to invite us to such a big tournament, to do it kind of properly. They had us out after tee times, like the guys teed off and wait until they got on the second. So we teed off, and then we're like, is there too slow? You have to skip a few holes. So we were like, we only got 9 holes. We're not skipping now. You know what I mean? Yeah. We hit our drives down the last, and all the greenkeepers picked up our balls. We were like, what is going on here? And we were just saying, if we want it to be inclusive, if we want to feel like we're a part of the event, things have to change. Like, we didn't have access to putting greens or driving ranges or anything. So
the things like that happening, I mean, immediately put you back to the very bottom, like, isn't it? It is really, really can get frustrating.
Big time. And like, after all the great momentum we had, when you have a week like that, it's like, oh, we're not back to this stage, are we? It just felt a wee bit like that. But what you need to remember is we were probably on the biggest stage in the world. It's the PGA Tour. It's a start. We have a foot in the door, and maybe next time we're going to get better and better and better. So,
and as you said, Jay Monaghan was there. I mean, that's the guy you probably need to have a look. And I presume and I assume that it'll only grow from there. Like, it is a starting point.
Big time.
But these are ground being broken all the time, and no matter what has happened in the history of the world, it always seems to start like this.
Big time. And I played an event over in England, and I stayed an extra day, and I played with Keith Pelley and Jay Monaghan together.
Okay.
So Keith said, do you fancy playing with Jay Monaghan and myself? Fucking right, I do. It was an opportunity to sort of pick the guy's brains. Of Jay didn't know what we done. Like, he didn't know any of the events we played in. He had no idea of where we were at. He knew Keith had a few events on tour that we played in, but didn't know the ins and outs. So I said it to him about all the stuff we were doing and what we're trying to achieve, and he basically said, come back with me with a proposal and we'll see what we can do. So a few months later, I heard the event was going on, so I wrote the proposal ready to send it, but I didn't send it to see how good this event was going to be. So I have to go and sort of write little pros and cons about what happened and send it on to him. But they're really willing to listen to the pros and the cons, so they're not going to get insulted with the bad stuff, which is good to know too, because you can buy anything on a piece
of paper. It's an honest assessment, And if you're not honest, it's not going to happen.
Exactly, and he was like, we're not going to get insulted. If you feel that you were hard done by here, there, and ever, tell us where it was, and we'll try and improve it next year. It's all we can do. So he's a really good guy.
Right, look, we've kept you long enough. We are going to do our usual 9 questions. It's 9 holes, basically a question for each hole, right? So the way we do it is that we want you to pick your favorite back 9, and then we will have 9 questions. So it can be a place you've played or a place you want to play.
Augusta
it is. All right, Harry, do you want to kick it off there? Hole number 10.
Hole number 10 on the back 9 of Augusta. Here we go. The highest point of your career so far.
Probably winning the Dubai finale this year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say that could be a good one, right? Yeah. Second question, bucket list course you'd like to play?
Pebble Beach, probably.
Right.
Absolutely. Next one, hole number 12 on the back 9 of Augusta. A movie of your life. Who is playing you?
Adam Sandler. What a funny man.
Great answer.
Great answer. Right, the swimming pool or the sea?
Oh, swimming pool all day. I hate sand.
There you go. Next one, myself and Ian, funny enough, have a time machine. Brendan, would you like to go back into the past or into the future, and why?
Oh, Jesus. Everything's pretty good at the minute, so I'm not too sure. past, maybe change a few things, and then fast forward back to the future, if that's possible.
No, come on, these are great answers. Probably the best answers you've got. Favorite stop on tour?
Stop.
Now you've been at a good few of them now. So, where your favorite kind of event, or where's a place you go? Yeah, I cannot wait to get back there.
Oh, Melbourne, Royal Melbourne, savage.
Yeah.
Wow, we've never been down there. I must try and make it happen at some stage. Next one, your greatest strength.
Greatest strength on the golf course or off?
Either or both, if you want to. Either.
Season and opportunity, I think I'm good at.
Brilliant, good answer.
Good man,
and
good
please
man.
God, please God, you keep creating them and those doors open for you as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I got the wrong end of the stick here, because I got your greatest weakness.
Oh, weakness. I could probably work on being a bit more patient. I'm not very patient.
Fair enough. Okay, that's something to keep in mind for the year ahead. And our final one, the 18th tee, one more hole to play to win the Masters. Your dream 4-ball.
Oh, I've been asked this a lot. Tiger Woods, obviously. Porrick Harrington, big fan of Porrick. Never played with him. And Kevin Hart, because I wouldn't look out of place.
Very good. God, you'll have to. That has to be a bucket list thing for this year, 2022, is to tee it up with Porrick Harrington somewhere. We've got to try and make that happen. You know,
big time. I'd love to play with a good few more Irish guys. I've had the pleasure of playing with Shane, Paul Dunn, Rory. So I'd love to play with Harrington.
Absolutely, yeah. I have often said, Ian, haven't I, arguably, and it is an argument if people want to have it, but Ireland's greatest ever sportsman. He's a legend of this country, and a legend of golf across the whole world. Brendan, huge thanks for your time and coming on the podcast. Great to have the chat with you. As Ian has said, Ian has obviously we both have followed your story so closely over the last number of years. I know from my own chats with Ian and all we do with the podcast that you are a big inspiration to him. And please God, it won't be too long before we see Ian out there competing on the tour as well. But huge thanks and the best of luck to you going forward for the rest of this year. And hopefully we'll bump into you somewhere out and about on the golf tour this year.
Thanks very much, guys, for having me on. And if there's anything I can do for you, Ian, just let me know. And hopefully we'll get this sort of Golf Ireland on the go, and we can help out more people.
Definitely, absolutely, definitely. Great. Look, great chatting with you. Thanks for your patience over the last couple of months. I know we've been hit and miss trying to get you on, but
I've been patient about that. That's all I've been patient about.
But again, look, thanks again. Last thing, where can we follow you? On Twitter, Instagram? Can you give us a couple of addresses for our listeners? Because I know.
Yeah, so Instagram is Brendan.Lawlor 1997, and then Twitter is Brendan Lawlor 97. I'm pretty sure. And then I don't use Facebook or anything really else. Just Twitter and Instagram. Okay,
Brendan Lawlor, thank you very much, sir. Best wishes for the rest of the season, and yeah, we'll definitely be hooking up. So.
100%, guys. Have a good one. I'll chat to you again.